Hey everybody, it's time for another update from Ireland.
Our group has left.
And we had a really good time with them.
We had a great time.
So this episode is going to be a lot about kind of the sights that we saw, the flowers that we saw, and the food that we ate.
Yes.
And we got really lucky with all three of those things.
All three of them. Our guests were fantastic. This is for two of them, it was their second trip over. And for the other two, there were a couple, it was their third trip over. And they're planning their fourth one already, I should say.
Yeah. So they just had such a wonderful time, despite their setbacks. So we had told you in the last update that they ended up getting a flat tire in a place called Manor Hamilton, County Leitrim.
County Leitrim, yep.
In the middle of nowhere. They had no cell coverage, nothing. And they were kind of at a state where they were like, uh-oh.
What are we going to do? But two lads pulled up, which is not uncommon here like that. They pulled up and helped them change the tire.
Well, they couldn't change the tire because the rental cars don't come with a spare, and this one didn't have a repair kit. Right. So the guys actually...
So they plugged the tire.
Yeah, when the guys took it away,
and
got it temporarily fixed.
And then they said you could go 100 miles or you could go a mile. They got 3 miles out of it. And then they stopped again.
It did get them into town.
It did.
And then even once they got into town, when they called the rental company wasn't able to get a tire to them.
Because it was Sunday.
Yes, so the rental company actually paid for their hotel in that town.
Right. That was very nice.
But the way things were going with bookings.com, they weren't able to use their credit card, and the woman at the put it on her credit card, and they gave her cash. And
kind of typical in Ireland, where people just go out of their way to help.
Yeah,
put it on their credit card.
If you were driving through Leitrim and you get to Manor Hamilton, just stop in and go to the pub or go to the shop or whatever, because they just were ringing the praises of that
Shout out
place.
to Manor Hamilton and Ireland.
Exactly. But then when they did finally get to us, we had a really nice time. We made sure to feed them the best we could.
And we also had a little drink. It wasn't just food. There was also a couple of drinks.
Yeah, there was drink taken.
Yes, there was drink. As they say now, there was drink taken, especially the first night.
But that on the second day, you took them on a little sightseeing tour.
We did. Where did we go? I don't even remember now.
To Donohill.
Oh yeah, we went to Donohill to see one of the patriots' graves of Dan Breen. And then we went on to one of my favorite places in the world. It's called...
Wait.
Oh, he stopped.
Well, you were in Donohill. There's also a Bally in Motte and or sometimes I've seen it spelled Bailey in Motte.
Yeah.
And that is an old, I guess, fort, basically. Yeah. So there's an earthen mound where they piled up earth.
They piled up earth, which you'd think they could have found a hill, but they actually piled up earth.
But they also dug a motte or a moat around it, and there would have originally been a wooden fort on top of it, but then... later on, some of them would have had more permanent structures. Some of them don't. But you can definitely see these.
It's like an early castle, and then they ended up building stone castles.
Yeah.
Mostly the Normans, when the Normans invaded.
Yeah, and there was a holy well there too.
Yes, and there was a really beautiful little holy well, and it's really funny. As many times I've stopped at Dan Breen's grave, I don't ever remember going to see the holy well, and it's just a beautiful little well.
You just kind of walk up to
it. Well kept, and yeah, Corey sometime will probably tell you more about the holy wells, but they're pretty special places. They're very cool. Yeah. And they're actually pre-Christian. They're Druidic to start with. They become Christian sites, but yeah.
Then you went onwards to...
Then we went on to the viewing point. We went through Tipperary town, and went up to the viewing point. It's called the Christ the King statue viewing point, and there's a picture of Christ the King. And then there's this fantastic view of the Glen Mountains, and they're just stunning, and it's just they're close to where we live, and they're just always stunning to me. I'm always amazed when I see them.
Yeah. And then you went down into the valley.
Down into the valley, into the Glen of Aherlow, which is a beautiful, beautiful valley, or glen. And we went to a very special place that I go to often, even by myself. It's called St. Bernard's Holy Well. And again, a holy well, and Kyle, I should say. There's a Kyle. It's a really special place. You have very little places to park. You have to walk over a farmer's field, and you come to this circular set of stones with an altar, a small altar in the circle of stones, and a large round stone on the altar where it was used to grind herbs. It is absolutely is Druidic, and the stone is still there. Nobody ever think of touching that stone, But you'll see little offerings, like coins will be pushed into the cracks, or little prayer messages. And also the trees are covered with tied cloths, or maybe it's a pair of socks, or maybe it's a tie. And the best way to explain it is, if you're Catholic, is that when somebody lights a candle, it's just a symbol of like a little offering, you know. And so what they do at these holy wells is they tie a cloth of maybe the person that passed away, and they hang it on the tree, and it becomes like a, well, I don't know, like a prayer.
It's a physical representation of your prayer. And the Kyle that's built around this kind of altar, that was added later with bits of old, like, stone carvings from churches and different types of things.
Right.
And Kyles were often children's burial grounds.
Yes, and this one absolutely does have a children's burial ground. It is not in the Kyle, actually, but outside of the Kyle, there's a circular area with some carved stones with crosses, and they would, people would still walk around it, and you say certain prayers or something.
And then beyond the Kyle, you keep going down the path.
You cross over a bog, yeah, and then you come up a few steps, and you take a left, and you go through into another field. And then you come into the well itself. It is spectacular. I'm sure Corey will show some pictures. Now, we've been told by several people that there's a small little bridge and that the water will not boil on the left-hand side. It will only, no, sorry, the water will not boil from the well itself, but will boil on the left side of the bridge. And this well is spectacular. You can see the bubbles coming up and the sand moving, and the trees are hanging over it, and the cloths are tied. And there's a little place you can stand and dip this mug into the water and drink it. And I do it every time. And yeah, it's just a really,
and a lot
really
of holy
place.
wells have specific meanings. So some of them are going to be for eyes, some are for warts, some are for whatever ailments or issues people might have.
Right.
So.
And I'm not sure what St. Bernard's holy well is.
I'm not sure. It seems to be the all-purpose well.
The one, which is great. The one that we were at before, I know was for eyes, but this St. Bernard's, I'm not sure.
And then when they came home, I had a special treat for you guys. I mean,
whiskey. No.
A pavlova, Liam.
Sorry.
And pavlova is one of those desserts that I fell in love with when I was in Australia, and it was very popular here for quite a while. Still is quite popular, but I made it myself. But let me tell you,
delicious.
And it's made with a type of meringue, but I made it. I don't have a mixer here, so I had to whip the meringue by hand. So
in a copper bowl.
Loads of love put into that pavlova. It better have tasted good.
And I served and whiskey with pavlova is the best. I served it with, he served it, and I served the whiskey. Delicious.
Well, it was a hit. Next day, we did go on a little bit longer trip. We went to Waterford, to the House of Waterford. Now, you probably, when I say Waterford, what do you think of?
Waterford Crystal.
And they are still making some of the Waterford Crystal in Waterford. The original factory, though, had closed down several years ago.
Yeah, it was a 4-acre site, and now they're down to, well, actually, believe it or not, there were 25 furnaces running, I think. And now there's 3 furnaces running.
Yeah.
So it's changed a bit. It's a luxury item, obviously. It's still luxury. But when you go to the tour, you realize why Waterford is so expensive. It is absolutely hand-touched by many, many hands, I should say. Handmade with many, many hands.
And the tour I really like because you are up close and personal. Like you're looking right over the craftsman.
Yeah.
And they encourage you to take photos and videos.
Right.
And the craftsman will answer your questions too. Like the people actually cutting will stop and show you kind of what they're doing and that type of thing.
How they market and how they, I don't know. It's just like, a goblet could be $130, and I get it. I really do get it.
And then after Waterford, we went and hiked in the Comeragh Mountains.
Right. We went up to Cumshanan.
And it was a beautiful trip up there, even though the weather wasn't perfect.
Yeah, it was just so much fun. And you basically follow sheep paths to the top.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to cough. Okay, apologies. My throat is in really bad shape right now.
Yeah.
So if you can probably even hear it when I'm talking. I'm a little.
You can see I'm just how I'm leaning slightly this way.
I don't think I have any diseases or anything.
Until I get sick.
Yeah, well, then we'll know for sure. This is like day 4, so if you haven't caught it yet.
Yeah, that's what they say. I've been swabbing with alcohol.
And then on the way home from the Comeragh Mountains, we went over the V, which is a pass between counties Waterford and Tipperary.
Right.
And we just missed the rhododendron season because the rhododendrons have covered this entire valley. So when they're in bloom, it is absolutely spectacular. Yeah. It's like nothing else.
And I'm sorry we missed it. We really only missed it maybe by a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's about at the most. And you never know because it can vary from week, depending on the
yeah, it could be anytime end of May to beginning of June.
Yeah, it'd be June 15th.
Yeah, we still could see quite a few rhododendrons, but it was nothing like what it is when it's in peak.
Right.
So that's beautiful. And that spot, apparently, I don't remember the story, someone stole St. Patrick's cow, and the mother cow came tearing through the valley, and as she went through, she tore her pass,
she made
and she made the V or something. Every location in Ireland has a little mythic story like that. So.
I believe it totally.
Well, I've been around some of the cows in Ireland, and some of them are pretty darn big. The following day, we stayed close and ended up going into the village of Nenagh, or it's a town of Nenagh.
Town of Nenagh.
That
would be our main town.
Yeah, Nenah's a big enough town, and they had a great time there.
Yes, we just wandered around and
they went into some of the shops. So there's like the antique store and the sporting goods store, the grocery store. They love the grocery store the best.
Chemist/pharmacist or pharmacy. We didn't eat a lot though. We were very careful about eating.
Yeah, because in addition to that, you went up to Nenagh Castle.
We went to Nenagh Castle too.
Yeah, that's a really unusual castle.
Great view of the city or the town. Great
and
view.
The surrounding area. You can see all the kind of major sites in the distance. But yeah, you made sure that you didn't eat too much because that night we did something very special.
There's one of our favorite restaurants. It's called Fiacri House, close to Oscray, but the route we take, it's like out in the middle of nowhere. It seems anyway, but it is so nice. And they had a special barbecue.
Yeah.
And so the chicken and steak,
5 meats,
lamb, and
8 salads,
and a roulade at the end that would
roulade and a rhubarb crumble.
Yeah, raspberry roulade, which is walnuts and meringue and raspberry coulis, and oh boy. So anyway, yeah, we were full.
It was incredible.
Very, very
Hats off
full.
to them for a fantastic meal.
It's a great restaurant. I love that place.
And then then the following day we took a trip to Limerick, and this is what we had met with our friends Eamon and Richard about before. We wanted to have a special event for them, and our friends in Limerick, they are restoring a thatched cottage, and they're going to be using the entire property as kind of a local food hub, and having courses and
they have restored the cottage. The cottage is restored.
Yeah, they're going to be it's going to be rented out soon.
Yeah, now they're working on the stone barn, which is where events will take place and things. But they put on just a wonderful, wonderful meal. Well, first of all, she had prepared this fantastic drink with a special gin that her friend that she knows makes. And was it fruit in it and everything?
It had elderberry and strawberries, and all stuff that she had collected locally.
Yeah, mixed with champagne and
this gin, which is Bertha's Revenge, which is no longer going to be made. So if you see it on the shelves anywhere, this is going to be your last chance to get it, because it won't be available after this season.
Nice. And then what we did is we made butter with her, and it was so much fun outside. She had this beautiful table set up with white tablecloth and the jars, and all the visitors, they all shook the cream. Yeah, and I grew up on a dairy farm, but I never made butter that way before. And it is a case where you just keep shaking it, and then it turns solid. And she showed us the whole process. Pouring it into the cheesecloth and then rinsing the butter and everybody poured theirs in. And they also had an old daisy churn that they used. And then it was washed and patted and formed into little pats. And then added salt to it. Added salt, and then that's the butter we used for the dinner. And the dinner was fantastic. It was the most traditional dinner you could get in Ireland. Bacon and cabbage. Wow. And bacon in Ireland is not like American bacon. No. It's more of a pork roast or pork loin. Almost like a ham. To me, it always looks like ham, but it's boiled pork. Yeah. Sliced with... And cabbage in Ireland is not like our kind of sauerkraut cabbage. This is more of a leafy green. It almost reminds me of like a Napa cabbage or something, where it's kind of leafy. And then she had homemade parsley sauce, which is poured on top of the new potatoes that they had. Yep, and the potatoes were grown in their hoop house that they had, so they were ahead of the actual potatoes. So we were able to... everything was fresh. Everything was... so the pork was even raised just on a farm down the road. Like, imagine that. Like, everything was that fresh. Like it used to be years ago, even in the States, when food came from about 20 miles away. And this was an opportunity for her and her husband and her son, who is a freshman at Trinity College, but he was home for the summer, so he helped as well. And it was great because they were able to just, they put on just a fantastic display, great meal. Beautiful setting. Yeah. You've got to show. You'll show pictures of the table, won't you? I should have some video. And it's not. I took some yet, but they're really great. Yeah. So that was like I think our guests basically said like that was their favorite thing. Yeah. And we did lots of great stuff, but they were like, that is a unique experience. And then afterwards, Richard took us around on a local tour, and that was really nice because it was local history. There was
the house of a guy who
I'm blanking out here. O'Brien, William O'Brien,
something like that. I'll put it
He
on
was
the
a
screen.
patriot, I think, from the 1798 rebellion, and we went to his tomb and saw his tomb. And it's just out in a field. I mean, it was like kind of tucked away. There's an old abandoned church. And
And the church kind of had this haunted kind of feel to
Yeah.
it, and it was still beautiful, and just it was very, very nice to see that.
Yeah.
Then we went to the site that the Ardagh Chalice was recovered, and the Ardagh Chalice is one of the treasures of Ireland.
Yeah.
It was found in a potato field.
This guy was digging potatoes, and he dug down
and
and hit the hoard. They call it the hoard. It was the Ardagh Chalice and other things too.
Yeah.
But it must have been buried.
They suspect that some monks were hiding it. From probably Norman invaders. Yeah,
Viking invaders.
And
usually.
so they were likely hiding it and buried it, and then it was found, there's a couple hundred years later. Yeah,
no, more than a couple hundred. This was like discovered in the 1940s or 50s.
Yeah,
this
hundreds of years later, and so it is one of the treasures of Ireland.
Yeah,
it's up there. Like you have the Book of Kells, you have the Tara brooch, you have the Ardagh Chalice, and the Cross of Cong. Those are ones that I always think of as really great historic things that were recovered in Ireland.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to see there, and they have a greenway. In Ireland, greenways are bicycle paths. It's kind of like a rails to trails type of thing, and they are so nice because it allows you to be on these biking in Ireland without having to deal with the roads. And the reason why I say that the roads are great for biking in Ireland, except for traffic and all the curves, it can be dangerous and stressful. I've biked here, and coming around corners and having a truck coming at you or any of that kind of stuff. Being on a greenway, I was in the Greenway in Galway. That was just so relaxing, so nice, and they have little off ramps, but they have little signs that say there's food at this stop or there's a pub here.
And they're connecting, and they're starting to connect them all too. Like I think the
Limerick one is going to connect up with the one in Kerry.
And so they're just.
And I thought there was thoughts of that connecting to another one.
I think they will eventually, but it's a great country to bike in on the greenways. It's a great country to bike, but it is a bit treacherous on the roads because like what we've seen in 30 some years, the change in the amount of traffic is quite different.
Yeah, and there's a lot more traffic on the roads than there were 30 years ago. So it's been amazing. I'm just going to cut in right here. I've been editing this video in probably the most beautiful spot possible. I'm up here at the top of our hill. The weather is fantastic. It's so nice out, and beautiful spot to just be out here and working away in the fresh air and in this beautiful setting. I mean, it doesn't get more beautiful than this to be able to do my editing in. Anyway, the video's getting a little bit long, so I'm going to kind of cut this one off here, and then I'll go ahead and spend some time editing the second part. So that'll be going up in a couple days. That one, I will include a little tour of the gardens at Fiacri House, which is the restaurant that I went to. So I'll include that in that. There's also a bunch of other stuff I'm going to be showing you. So I look forward to all this. I'm so glad you guys are watching this and hanging out with me here. I know it's different than my usual content, but this is what I'm doing right now. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. So I'll see you guys really, really soon with part 2.